Welcome to World Now at 4. I am Aidnan Lubem. First, let's talk the headlines. On the headlines, Buhari swears in new permanent secretaries. The DRC Congo calls for expulsion of UN mission spokesman. On the international scene, Pelosi leaves Taipei to sound of Chinese fury. On sports, Premier League players to limit taking a knee. Now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has sworn in 3 new permanent secretaries of the Federal Civil Service. Buhari swore in the new senior officials shortly before the start of today's Federal Executive Council meeting at the council chambers of the Presidential Villa in Abuja. The newly sworn-in permanent secretaries are Farouk Yabu from Sokoto State, Lydia Jafia from Adamawa State, and Udom Ekanem from Akwa Ibom. Attending the meeting are the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, Head of the Civil Service, Folashade Yemi Esan, and the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mungono. Meanwhile, the Vice President attended this week's meeting from his official residence, Aguda House, virtually. Away from that one now, the leadership of the Senate is currently in a meeting with heads of security agencies. The meeting started a few minutes past 2 p.m. at the Senate Wing National Assembly Complex today. Some of the senators present are the Chairman, Senate Committee on Defense, Aliyu Wamaku, Chairman, Senate Committee on Navy, George Sekibo, and the Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Police Affairs, Abdullahi Danbaba. Recall that the opposition lawmakers had given the President, Muhammadu Buhari, a 6-week ultimatum to resolve insecurity in the country or face impeachment. Nigeria's Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, said he adopted voluntary conciliation for the resolution of the strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is ASU, instead of arbitration, in order not to delay the resolution process. The minister said he could have transmitted the matter to the Industrial Arbitration Panel, that is AIP, or the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, NIC, but used his discretion to weigh the situation to know if it would cause more delay in resolution of the dispute in a court process.
There is nothing wrong in first talking. When you talk within yourself and you have a breakdown, you can proceed to the next stage, in which case you now call for mediation.
Left for me to use my discretion and weigh the implications of such a transfer. If I transfer, will it cause more delay in a court process rather than doing voluntary conciliation?
The minister disclosed this while fielding questions from newsmen at a joint workshop on international labour standards and dispute resolutions organized by the IAP in collaboration with the International Labour Organization in Abuja, the nation's capital. He recalled that ASU embarked on strike on February 14 and started voluntary Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to other parts of Africa. Inhabitants of a town in northern Burkina Faso whose road access have been cut off by jihadists say food supplies are running out. This was disclosed by the medical charity Medecins Sans Frontières, that is MSF, in the early hours of today, who confirmed that hunger was worsening. According to the report, Islamic militants on June 25 damaged a bridge providing the only road access to the town of Seba, the administrative seat of Yaga province. Residents swiftly tried to repair the damage, but the bridge was destroyed in a subsequent attack, leaving Seba cut off from the rest of the country. Local traders have commissioned 14 trucks to bring in urgently needed supplies, but they are stranded in the town of Dori. Attacks have increased since the start of the year, despite a coup by colonels whose declared priority is to restore security. Congolese government has asked the United Nations, that is the UN, to expel its spokesman in the Democratic Republic of Congo, that is the DRC, according to an official letter seen by reporters today. Angry demonstrators have ransacked and looted facilities of the UN mission in the DRC since July 25. 4 peacekeepers were killed in Butembo and at least 28 demonstrators were killed in Goma, Butembo and Kayabonga, North Kivu. 4 others were electrocuted in Uvira, South Kivu, when their march was dispersed, according to an official report. MONUSCO is one of the largest UN missions deployed in the world, with some 14,000 troops in several cities in the east. Since 2019, pro-democracy movements and some local elected officials have been calling for the departure of MONUSCO. They blame MONUSCO for refusing to fight the 100 or so armed groups. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to other parts of the world. United States Speaker Nancy Pelosi has left Taiwan after a brief but controversial visit. Pelosi, the most senior U.S. politician to visit in 25 years, departed on Wednesday after meeting leaders in the capital, Taipei. Although her visit is as part of a wider Asian tour, sparked fury in Beijing after she ignored its warnings not to travel to the island. Taiwan is a self-ruled, but China sees it as a breakaway province that will eventually reunite with it. In a statement issued on Wednesday, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said those who play with fire will not come to a good end, and those who offend China will be punished. The U.S. walks a diplomatic tightrope with its Taiwan policy. As Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, Pelosi is second in line to the U.S. presidency, behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Republican who testified against Donald Trump at the January 6 committee has lost an election to a candidate endorsed by the former president. Rusty Boas aimed to be a Republican candidate in the Arizona State Senate election, but lost the party's primary vote to David Farnsworth. Initial tallies showed Farnsworth taking 64% of the vote. Boas, a staunch conservative, recently said it would take a miracle for him to win after opposing Trump. In June, the 69-year-old gave emotional testimony to the committee investigating the riots at the Capitol in 2021. He told how Trump and his advisor, Rudy Giuliani, tried to push him to help overturn the results of the 2020 presidential elections. And now to Russia, where Russia has backed Myanmar junta efforts to stabilize the crisis-racked country and hold elections next year. Its foreign minister said in talks with top generals today that the Southeast Asian nation has been in turmoil since the putsch last year, with the junta accused by rights groups of committing war crimes as it struggled to crush resistance to its rule. On Monday, junta chief Min Aung Hlaing, who traveled to Moscow last month, said polls could only take place when the conflict-racked country was stable and peaceful. Russia, along with its ally China, has been accused by rights groups and a UN expert of arming the military with weapons used to attack civilians. Lavrov and junta chief Min Aung Hlaing also discussed opening new consulates to promote an increase in travel between the two countries. The junta has yet to comment on Lavrov's visit. Up next on World Now at 4 is business news. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and now to business news. Prices of many types of crude, including Nigeria's Bonny Light, on Tuesday bounced back to over $100 per barrel in the global market as the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies began their meeting in Vienna, Austria. The rise in prices was fueled by expectation that the meeting of OPEC and its other measures capable of achieving stability in the volatile global market. Consequently, the price of Bonny Light rose to over $100 per barrel from $99, while the price of Brent rose to $101.8 per barrel from $98 per barrel. Until last week, when the prices of many types of crude crumbled due mainly to the negative data from China, which gave impression that the demand for crudes was easing. The prices had subsequently risen due to some factors, especially the reopening of major economies after the coronavirus lockdown, Ukraine-Russian war, and European Union ban on Russian oil. However, OPEC and its allies, including Russia, are currently meeting to determine the group's production strategy for September, as well as come up with decisions capable of achieving stability in the market. And the first grain ship to depart Russia since Russia invaded has been cleared to leave Turkish waters for its destination in Lebanon. A team of officials from Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and the UN expected the Razoni cargo of 26,000 tons of corn and its crew. The UN said the ship was free to leave for Lebanon today. Russia has been blockading Ukrainian ports since it invaded in February, intensifying global food shortages. Under a deal brokered by Turkey and the UN last month, which set up a joint coordination center, that is a JCC, to oversee exports, both sides agreed shipments could resume. The Razoni, which left the Ukrainian port of Odessa on Monday, is bound for the Lebanese port of Tripoli. Ukraine has said its naval vessels will guide cargo ships through waters that have been mined. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said he wants to see grain exports become regular again. In addition to easing food shortages elsewhere, he said he hoped exports would encourage Ukrainian farmers to sow seeds for next season. Ukrainian authorities said there are 17 other grain ships waiting to leave the country's Black Sea port once the Razoni completes its voyage safely. Still to come on World Now at 4, it's sports news. Don't go away.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I'm Richard Badun. Super Eagles forward Victor Osimhen still has the desire to leave Italian club now since Robert Lewandowski left for FC Barcelona as they are in search for a replacement to reinforce the attacking department. Meanwhile, Napoli President Aurelio De Laurentiis replied that Napoli would not listen to proposals for Osimhen anymore until 2023. Meanwhile, the Super Eagles striker who joined Napoli from French League One side Lille has so far managed 62 appearances in total and scored 28 goals. He was ranked joint 8th top scorer in the Serie A scoring chart with a total of 14 goals and 2 assists. Charity Untala and plots of land following their impressive performance at the recently concluded Women's Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco. The Copper Queens were the surprise package at the tournament held in Morocco after they finished with a bronze medal following their 1-0 victory against Super Falcons in the third place session of Zambia. Chingola Mayor Johnson Kangombe said the trio were rightfully rewarded after putting Chingola on the map and deserved to be appreciated. Mwapi, on his part, thanked the council for the gesture by stating that the support that the office rendered to them throughout the tournament was overwhelming and helped them achieve the results that they needed. Apart from the bronze medal, Zambia also clinched the qualification ticket for the World Cup in 2023. And away from that story, Premier League players will stop the pre-match anti-racism gesture of taking the knee before every match. Top flight clubs started taking a knee to support the Black Lives Matter movement, which rose to prominence before the death of George Floyd in the United States in May 2020. Beg your pardon. Premier League instead be seen before certain rounds of games, including the Boxing Day fixtures and cup finals. Players and staff will also take the knee before the first and last matches of the 2022-2023 campaign, as well as dedicated no room for racism match rounds in October and March. Away from there, talking about the FIFA World Cup now, 2 times world champion Argentina and fellow South American nations such as Chile, Uruguay and Paraguay have submitted a joint bid to host the 2030 World Cup. Uruguay hosted the competition's first ever tournament in 1930 and say they want to bring the World Cup home when it celebrates its centenary. World Cup. Also speaking, President of the Uruguayan Football Association, Ignacio Alonso, said it's right for the World Cup to be hosted where it all began 100 years ago. The 2022 World Cup will be held in Qatar, while Canada, Mexico. Sport news on World Now at 4.
Welcome back from the sports update, and now to the rest of the news. Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, that is NIDCOM, has asked the Italian government to compensate the wife of Alika Ogorchukwu, who was brutally murdered in Italy with a job to cater for the family. Chairman of NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri Erewa, disclosed that several meetings were ongoing with Italian authorities to ensure that justice is served. Abike Dabiri Erewa said that the suspect in the murder of Italy-based Nigeria Ogorchukwu Alika has been arrested by the Italian police and was expected to be charged to court.
Seeking that his wife should be compensated with a job so that she can continue to fend for the family. And according to the Nigerian mission, they're working very well with the Italian authorities, and we have to be compensated. Also very pathetic is the case that happened just a few days before in Canada, where 2 Nigerians working legitimately in a club were butchered to death. Again, we have the cooperation of the Canadian authorities. There has been, they've reached out to everyone who knows the suspect is already out there, and they're doing everything to arrest the suspect, and they've also assured that justice will be done.
The NIDCOM boss equally gave an update on the gruesome murder of two young Nigerians, Tosin Amos Arogbeshebe and Chibueze Momo, who were shot dead at a nightclub in Canada while working as gun incident. And that's World Now at 4, but before we go, here are the headlines again. On the headlines, we told you Buhari swears in new permanent secretaries. DR Congo calls for expulsion of UN mission spokesman. On the world stage, Pelosi leaves Taipei to sound of Chinese fury. On sports, we told you Premier League players to limit taking a knee. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV